everyone. I think I'm pretty sure that VZWBuzz Twitter chat has been finished, and I hope you had a chance to learn a lot of great tools. What we aim to do here on the mobile chat, Verizon Wireless VZWBuzz recap is to give you the top level learnings of the chat, and also, give you some good reminders of the main things that we think you can learn from this prior chat. So I am pleased to welcome Marty McPadden as my guest today. And how are you doing, Marty?
I am doing great. How you doing, Monica?
I'm doing great. I can see now that Chandler Mom 22 just won her new LG G4, so I'm sure she's
Nice.
pretty thrilled.
Congratulations.
I know. Those are some great phones. Have you had a chance to play around with it?
I have not, but I'll tell you, being a video guy and a photography guy, I heard the screen is incredible, and the camera, of course, and the video is outstanding. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, the somebody on today's chat's going to win one more of these LG G4 devices. These have a great big screen. So I think that you're going to find the winner is going to find some really great device that I don't know about you, but I'm tending to prefer the bigger screens these days. I'm so used to these this Note 5, for example. What are
Yeah.
you using for screen
Well,
size, Marty?
I got the iPhone 6 Plus, and it's a 5.5-inch screen. I'll tell you, you know what? I don't know about you, Monica, but especially the iPhone, coming from a 4-inch screen and going all the way up to here, it was a bit of an adjustment, but I'm glad I did it because I tell you, I use my phone for everything, especially being in business. I know you can relate. I mean, it's fantastic. It's like kind of a mini iPad almost.
Yeah, I used to think that maybe they were going to be a little big,
Yep.
perhaps, or too big feels like a plate in your ear, but it doesn't feel like that at all.
No, not at all. It's fantastic.
Yes, and if you tend to use glasses, sometimes I do. Not that you will catch me wearing them too often, but the larger screen is, of course, a great tool. So we're going to recap some of the main things that we want people to learn about how to set up a mobile office and, what are some of the essentials. Thank you again to Verizon Wireless for sponsoring this recap. And we're also going to pick the winner from you sharing with us right on Twitter what you learned. What are some of the things that you learned that you didn't know before you came to the chat or on the recap? So you have an opportunity to do that and win another one. So Marty, let's start with if you're going to be working really in any capacity and you're going to use a smartphone, what are some of the top considerations you make about that particular device? Like, what are some of the things you think about?
Well, coming from a business perspective, I think screen size is big one. And for me, being new to this phone as of last year, I didn't really realize how important that is until I actually used it as kind of my daily driver. And especially if you travel, you don't want to carry too many devices, but carrying one device that can act like a phone and kind of a tablet. And being that you have a million different apps on here, and I know we're going to talk about some, but communication, email, you know, anything like that, or even like Dropbox, PDFs. You may be working on a project, a Word project. Any of those things are great on a larger screen because you can type easier.
Yeah, I so agree. I think, finding your device and then also making kind of a decision on your ecosystem. If you're in a PC environment, what are some of those tools that are going to make it a lot easier for you to access files remotely, to share them, and also to have not as much of a learning curve, right? So if you're in a PC environment and you get an iPhone, you can still work, obviously, but there are some things that are facilitated by the fact that obviously you share a similar platform, being that PC or Mac in this particular case, or Google for that matter.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, I mean, the cross-platform nature of today's mobile world and business world is very important. And so, certainly choosing services and apps that work across platform, especially with different clients you might have, is very, very important. And, all these platforms are terrific for that. And there are several apps that do a good job in that area.
Yeah, Yeah, that's true. And of course, we are a little biased, but I have been on Verizon for like the last 9 years, and I went through a lot of carriers, a lot of the well-known carriers too. I do think that the network that you choose is so important if you want to have a connection wherever you go, or be able to keep your connection if somebody calls you from anywhere in the country. So be sure you choose the right network for sure.
And just to add to that, Monica, I think that's excellent. And I know it's very, very competitive with everyone buying for your business, but especially if you travel, you want to make sure the network is good everywhere you go. And you know, I know you go everywhere, and Misty and I have been a lot of different places. And I'll tell you, I've never been disappointed with Verizon coverage. You always know where you're going to be. You're always going to get those 5 bars, you know, and that's so, so important.
Yeah, it's very, very true. I recently was speaking with someone in Montana, and she said, "Oh yeah, of course I'm on Verizon. It's the only network that I can actually get a connection from in Montana." I'm like, okay, so important to know. So one of the things that I know we covered on the chat, and Robin does such a great job with all the tips and the resources, to-do lists, those kinds of things. Of course, some better known, some less known. But tell me about some of your specific sort of list apps and other things that you go to that make your mobile office work so smoothly.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll share a couple, and I'm just going to put it up on the screen here. So let me just go to so the first one I got up there is Do app, and now I'll just spend quick time on that. That's iOS only. It is my go-to reminder app, even over the reminders app on iOS, and it's very granular. You can set snooze alarms and things like that. That's a great app as well, and I'll tell you my favorite one right now.
Do app. You said that was Do app.
The Do app. Right. And now this
Okay.
one I have up here now is called Wunderlist, and I'm sure many have heard of it. I'm sure some haven't. The reason why I like Wunderlist, number one, it's cross-platform everywhere. iOS, Android, your desktop. It has a Mac app, has a PC app. It's fantastic. Miss and I use it for our grocery list, but if you're using it for business, it's free as well. But if you're using it for business, they do have a premium plan that you can do your to-do list, and you can assign to-dos to members of your team. So you can create a team and assign to-dos. And again, it syncs all over the place. Misty and I, again, use it for our grocery list. We literally are creating our grocery list on the fly, and it literally comes in real time. We can actually see it come in and out in real time. So that's a really, really good one for me.
Wunderlist. This is Wunderlist.
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I mean, I think that I have to be honest on Wunderlist. I got on it, and I was working with a designer, you know, on a couple projects we were collaborating. I had a little trouble getting familiar with it. I had a little trouble. It wasn't as simple for me to say, oh yeah, this is what you do in this app. So I need to spend a little more time with it. Some do have a learning curve, and that's okay if you have, you know, just put in a little time to do that.
I think you had one. Don't you use one called Clear?
I used Clear, but right now I am actually on Nozbe, and that's Nozbe, and it has really been so great because you can actually put your tasks under projects. So if it's not a quick to do, you put it under a project, and then you're checking things off of specific projects. So that's kind of worked better for me. But Nozbe is also an app across devices and across platforms. It just has a trial period, so you can play with it first. But
you know what I like about that one, and I'm a Nozbe user as well. You know what, and there's plenty of these apps like Things and different things. Those type of project management apps, I don't know about you, but they tend to get complicated. And what I like about Nozbe is it just works really well. Especially what I like, I don't know about you, what I like is when you have a to-do list and you have a due date, but maybe you go a little over, it automatically brings everything over the next day. And it just keeps you all
so great.
Isn't that great?
It's like a benevolent
Right?
system to
Doesn't bug you
give you
too
a
much, but
break.
just enough.
Because you're always a little more aggressive with your deadlines
Yeah.
than you probably can be. Interesting, about Nosby. I'll tell you this, and we're not getting any kind of sponsorship. This is nothing sponsored or anything. But my test for an app is if I need more than 5 seconds to get to understand how the app works, it's not going to work for me. I just don't have that kind of time. If it's going to be a resource for me, it better be simple. And Noseby is very simple, and the more you use it, obviously the better the features. But those two things are great. I wanted to talk about collaboration tools because a lot of us are working remotely and with people in an office or maybe not in the office. Some are very creative, architects and all kinds of different professions. So what are the collaborative tools that you find most useful to you?
Boy, for me, and I think you're going to echo this, for real-time communication, Slack, absolute game changer. I know that we use it on the OM Media team, and I'll let you talk about it. I'm going to put the webpage up, but I'll let you talk about it. I mean, it is unbelievable, and I think it's changed our lives as far as reducing email.
Yeah. Yeah, Slack is great. I have to say, I saw a post from Brene Brown recently, and she was talking about how her organization was going to start using Slack also as a way to not only be more up to date and on the minute, but also to eliminate email. And that just sort of got my attention because it's not a huge organization, but we get hundreds and hundreds of emails otherwise. So Slack has been absolutely incredible for us, for sure. Talk about the cloud services and how many or which ones of those do you use?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I got my thing mixed up. Okay, there we go. Got the two boxes. Cloud services, I'll tell you, you know what? I use several of them. On the Apple side, I use iCloud, and that's mainly to sync all my Apple-centric apps and things I use there, settings and that type of thing. But my go-to is Dropbox, and I recently broke down and bought a Pro plan, because I do a lot of video and photography and images, and I deliver a lot of those files, and I just need the extra space. And what I like about Dropbox is not only is it reasonable costs for your storage, but it works with everything. It's got an app for every device, and also because it has an API, it has hooks into other apps. So for example, on Microsoft Office, they just rolled this out. If you open a Word document, you'll see on the side, if you have Dropbox, a little Dropbox icon. And you can click that, and you can, go to your Dropbox right from there. And it's very, very seamless how it works. So I think for me, that's the seamless nature of it, how it hooks into other things, how you can share links. Like I deliver a lot of video, and I'm sharing links with clients, and they can just download it. I don't have to worry about the storage. It's fantastic for me. So Dropbox, iCloud, and I do use OneDrive from Microsoft. I do get some of the storage because I'm a Office subscriber, so that's fantastic as well. The reason I love Dropbox the best is there's no limit on the file size when you're a pro user. And for me, with videos, they tend to be big, and that's what I've been running into with some of the other cloud services. They limit the individual file size. I don't know about how about you?
Yeah, I favor Dropbox also, and I'm finding that anywhere I can be. I mean, I was on a runway, on a taxi runway. Literally, the plane was waiting, a couple more aircraft before we were actually going to take off. Of course, my phone was supposed to be off, but just about, a few minutes before, a file that I had thought had gone through from my laptop back at the airport gate had not gone through, and so I had gotten a note saying, I didn't get the file. So from my phone, it was absolutely the easiest thing to just go to Dropbox quickly. It took literally seconds for me to be able to resend the file from my phone on a taxi runway. I have to admit, I'm one of those people. But then I shut down the phone right away, and then I left it on airplane mode.
You know, I echo what you're just saying there. I think you just made a really, really great case for Dropbox is that it's ease of use and all your stuff is in one place. So if you're frantic, I mean, when you're traveling, you don't have time to go through 8 million different folders. You need to find that document right away and you need to get it sent. And that just, you know, when you have everything right there and you can adjust, you know, arrange all your folders the way you want, you don't have to worry about the storage. It's a great service. And also the backup. I mean, if you're not backing up your files, if you have these files just on your laptop or on your desktop computer and something happens to that hard drive, you're sunk. You know? So
you absolutely need
having
to.
that cloud backup is important.
Do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing about Dropbox too, just one last thing that you should know is if you're traveling and say you are syncing up files and you haven't done so, it's going to use your data if you're set up that way. So just be careful and mindful that if you get a file from Marty and it's a video, it might eat up a lot of data if you're downloading it or syncing up your Dropbox.
Make sure on your Wi-Fi.
On your mobile device. So definitely those are some of the tools. What about your actual smartphone tools for Office? Things that, you know, things like Easy that come easily right on there. So I'm thinking Google Slides, Google Docs. Those are super useful documents, don't you think?
Yeah, if you're and what's great, what Google's done over the past several years is they've made their apps available very easily on different platforms. And frankly, iOS has opened up too and made that happen. But yeah, if you're a Google user, I mean, you could put your whole life in Google. You know, have Google Calendar, Google Contacts, Docs. They have a spreadsheet, they have slides, like you mentioned, and it's all accessible. They have mobile apps and everything. Same thing on iOS. I tend to go for the iOS part of it, but it works for me. And one tip, if you're an iOS user, I tend to try to go for the default apps if I can. And then go from there, because what I like about and a lot of people complain about the default apps, but what I like about the default apps is that they work with the phone, they work with devices, they work across especially if they're Mac, they work across devices very, very well, and Apple kind of favors that. But know that there are other apps that you can. So for example, if you just simple reminders, the Apple Reminder app is great. It's very simple. But if you need something more, there's other apps out there that you can use. So I like the simplicity. I like how it all works together. But yeah, either Google or Apple. I mean, that's the thing. The cloud has made all this possible. You know, all this syncing. Yeah.
I love the new Notes on iOS and the Mac. It's
too.
really, I think, much improved. It feels a little more like Evernote without the complications of Evernote. Again, I'm sorry, I'm in the 1% minority of people that have had a tough time embracing Evernote for some reason, and yet Notes now has some of those features. It's so much more enhanced. So, and like you say, you know, if it's on an iPhone or a Mac, you get it right away. And but Evernote on a PC, I know is also great because it syncs up with your devices as well.
Yeah, it's funny because you know how there's a lot of fans of Evernote, and it's a great piece of software and it's very capable. But yeah, I mean, for some people, and you know, I put myself in there as well, it might be overkill and you don't need all that. And you're right about the Notes app. I'm glad you mentioned that. The Notes app for a long time has been very, very simple. Couldn't do very much formatting, couldn't really do much with it. But now, not only can you do formatting, but you can do lists, you can do bullet lists, you can do checklists, and you can drag in images, photographs. If you have a web page, you can save it to the notes. It'll save the link, it'll give you a preview. And it also syncs across all your devices. So if you have a laptop, a Mac, you know, a MacBook or iPad, it's all right there. It's all ready to go. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the Notes app for a while, if you're an iOS user, definitely check it out.
Good advice. And then, take the time to learn a little bit more about your devices if you can. There are some hidden gems there for your mobile office or for you functioning outside of the office. And don't forget to have a Bluetooth speaker. You can't hear it now, but I don't go anywhere without it. It's great for conference calls. It's also obviously great for dancing around the office when you can do that, which is kind of often around here. So we do have a winner, Marty.
Oh,
It's
excellent.
exciting. Yes. So today's winner of the LG G4, I kind of love the simplicity of what she learned on today's chat and recap. Is she said she's learned how to measure how much data she uses, and that's such a great skill. That's such a really great learning, because many of us are not totally clear on exactly how much data we use. But I see a lot of people singing the praises of Evernote, so I promise I'm going to take another look. I think it was heresy for me not to say that I loved it as much as so many of you do. I'm telling you, I'm completely mystified. I'll take the time. OneNote is good too.
Well, people are saying that to you. Oh boy.
Yeah, they're like, what? So thank you so much for so much interaction. Thank you again to Verizon Wireless. Our winner today is Mama Dear. And thank you so much for joining. To Mama Dear, you're going to get this. Erin, I believe is your name. Yeah. And we're going to ship this to you first thing on Monday. So congratulations, you're getting top of the line flagship LG smartphone from Verizon Wireless. Congratulations, and thanks everyone. We're gonna come back next week at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern for the chat and 4 p.m. for the VZWBuzz recap. All right, Marty?
Good night. But have a great weekend.
You too.